Good morning, everyone. My name is Charles Furnace. I'm a volunteer for Carol's great forum. This is my 7th forum with her. This is her 32nd forum. Kindly please come in and settle. We have a very, very tight and packed event this morning. And we really love all the parents and friends to come and see and celebrate our youth and what they're doing. Because they're the next ones that are in charge. Again, we got drawings at the end both for youth and for adults. Please make sure that you filled out the green card for adults and the pink card for youth. We have pencils in the back. Once you fill them out, just bring them up to the front. And again, kindly please remember at the end, when you're leaving, just fill out one of these evaluation forms for DARA. Give us some ideas what you may like to see next year, what you think of our presentation, our youth, and our program this morning. And we'll be starting in a minute. Thank you very much.
I don't have the multifunction keyboard that you do.
So you need DARA Live.
I need DARA Live. And I'm monitoring.
Harold Perry does the introduction. 32 years teaching, giving excitement and future and vision, and this is your show. Take it away.
Dan, I'll switch it as quick as I can. Come here.
It took me over 3 decades to be able to say, welcome to the 32nd annual Dayton Hamvention Youth Forum. Wearing those yellow necklaces that say Carol's Monitor on it. And for many years, most of them have been with us at the Dayton Youth Forum to help in giving out the prize tickets, which I hope all of you have filled out. The green ones for adults and the pink ones for youth, and then just bring them up front where Ralph and John. Ralph has been my prize manager for close to 3 decades. Bring them up because the prizes are extraordinary, I promise you. So we do the prize drawing the last hour of the show, and all tickets must be in up front where Ralph and John are before 10:30. Because in fairness to all of you who did get here on time, we stopped giving out those tickets, which are all beautifully pre-printed, thanks to Ralph's club, Lance Cruz and Radio Club. We want to get the tickets in before 10:30. Okay. Also, we want to thank DARA for being our host here. We want to thank all of those volunteers. Like little elves behind the scenes, you have my word for 10 months. We've been in communications, and they're the ones responsible for setting everything up for this youth forum and for yesterday's instructors forum. So we thank them for their hospitality as well. And of course, the extraordinary group of young presenters who are the reason we're all here today. We've got 8 fabulous young speakers who are here today, and I know you are going to enjoy a very special presentation of youth today. And lastly, one of my favorite ingredients is all of you. Any of you who have been to some of the other venues that I speak at know that I always refer to this audience as the lover audience. And I don't mean that at all in a patronizing way. It's because when you're up here at this podium, you feel the love and the support. And I know 32 years, you can always count on you to be very supportive of these young people. They're not adults, take them 19 and younger, and to get up at a public forum and do public speaking, to have to put up with me for 10 months for the most part of nagging, I mean coaching, telling them what to expect so that by the time they get here, they will rehearse and have the confidence to get up. But I always applaud every single one of them. It's not an easy thing. These youngsters are going to be doing. That's why this is my happy place. Now, if you look at the sponsor of the youth forum chart that we have here, if you see any of these vendors here at Hamvention, be sure to stop by and thank them. When you see the extraordinary gifts that they are all going to get, and that all of you will be eligible to get when we have the prize drawings, let's support the manufacturers who are supporting our young people. And so, let me tell you who they are and what they have donated for this youth forum. RCA Radio Club of America, and we're honored to have the president of Radio Club here, Carol Hollingsworth. Could you raise your hand and say, okay? Besides supporting me to be here, at the end, each one of the young presenters will be receiving a $100 stipend check from Youth Activities, which has in fact been donated by Charles Thomas, so that it doesn't have to come directly out of my budget. Charles has been doing that. And in addition, they will all receive an RCA Young Achiever Certificate. And parental response back through the years is that gets proudly displayed at home. It means they are officially RCA Young Achievers, which entitles them to all the benefits that go with it, including mentorship from RCA members, which is quite a substantial thing to be eligible for. And it now entitles them to get plugged into a whole host of different venues where I can feature them during the course of the year. So that's thanks to RCA, and a lot of the people, not only RCA members in addition, are wearing those yellow necklaces that say Carol's Monitor on it. So if there's anything that you need or you want to question, just raise your hand and one of them will come over. ICOM, cannot say enough thank yous to them. For almost 30 years, for almost 3 decades, ICOM, especially now with Ray Novak, has been a huge sponsor of the Youth Forum. If you look over at that prize table there, each one of these young speakers will be getting personalized, and that means their name and call sign, jackets. They will be getting backpacks that have the RCA Young Achiever patch hot stamped onto it. They will each be getting an ICOM ID 51A plus HT radio. And for my love audience, we always have a separate drawing at the end for the adults only. And that is for the ICOM 7300 HF ring. You have to be present to get it, and as I said, the prize tickets start at 10:30. ARRL has donated 10 $50 gift certificates. DX Engineering has donated 10 $100 gift certificates. Kenwood has donated 5 TM281A mobile transceiver radios to be given as door prizes. MFJ has a long list of things that they've donated, and Ralph will be here later to help give some of those out, but they donated mobile antennas for those radios, plus HT antennas, and 5 other prizes he said he would bring here to announce, and 8 hand-gear chest harnesses for emergency radios. Big supporter of MFJ as well. Kermis Audio, that's Charles's company. He is a fellow RCA director with me, and he's the one, as I said, who donated the money for the stipend checks that the youngsters will be getting. And just a tremendous person to have as your right-hand man to help with everything, including making sure I get wherever I have to be on time. These are all the behind-the-scenes things that make it be what it is when we get here. QCWA, where I'm also in charge of youth activities and a director, always sends a check to support the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest, which we're hearing more about. They're announcing the winner. AMSAT has donated beautiful Getting Started books for the young presenters, and each one of them has already been put into the book bags for the young people. The Portage County Amateur Radio Society. Is anybody here now from PPARS? Well, remind me, I have a chart to give you for indicating you were a donator to this forum. I had the most wonderful experience about 2 months ago going to this fabulous amateur radio group, and they just were so supportive of everything that I spoke about this forum, that they have become, you see their logo on here, they have become a sponsor of the youth forum as well. And my personal thanks. It was just a fabulous experience that I had meeting with them. The Lance Cruz Amateur Radio Club, looking over at John and Ralph over there. For the better part of 30 years, Ralph has been my prize organizer, and we certainly thank him. And John Slobodin, WNXW, who is here as Ralph's assistant, and is going to be making a donation. He has written a book, and if we get a chance, we're going to let him say a couple of words about that later. And we thank him, and the kids will all be getting copies of that. The radio amateur call sign historian, that's a friend of mine, Pete Veronis, NLZXM. Anything you want to know about somebody you knew 50 years ago who was involved and you want to track him down, he's the one who will find him for you. He is a supporter of the Youth Forum. Heil Sound has donated a Pro Set 3 headphone set to be given as a prize. And lastly, DLARC, the Delaware Lehigh Amateur Radio Club, also sends a check for the Youth Forum. So these are the people we want to thank, and especially with the manufacturers who you will be seeing here. Be sure to give them a thank you for their support. Most of them have been with us for most of them 30 years. So let's have a round of applause. Okay, now once again, I'm going to be speaking a little bit on the fat side because it's only 3 hours this far. And most of you know we usually run over because we've got more than 3 hours worth of great stuff to share with all of you. So, in addition to having a surprise guest who may be brought in here a little bit later that we're waiting, and it's a surprise, so we'll tell you who it's going to be. Oh! Surprise! Okay, allow me to introduce, first of all, Gordon, you all know. Gordon, give us a wave. Okay, surprise everybody. Gordon's homework assignment was to make sure young, wonderful person comes here to say hi to you. How many of you watched the Tim Allen show, Last Man Standing? Okay, how many of you recognize this is Boyd Baxter? This is Tim Allen's grandson. This is Jack, newly licensed, and your dad too, right? Okay. And this is his first time here at Hamvention, and we invited him here. And Gordon's homework assignment was to make sure he got here to say hi to all of you. Here is a great role model for all the young people who are here in the audience, and a treat for all the rest of us to hear him. We're going to ask him to say a few words to you. This is Jet.
Awesome, thank you so much, Carol. As you all heard a bunch of times now, my name is Jet Jergens-Meyer, K0UWC. And this is my first time at Hamvention. My dad and I, we got our technician class license together. And I really started getting into it when I got on Last Man Standing. And we have for those of you that don't know, there's a real ham radio in Mike Baxter's office at Outdoor Man. And every night before the taping, we get on and we talk to fans all around the country and the world. And that's really what got me into it. When I heard about that, I've always kind of liked having radios and walkie-talkies and thinking that was really cool, but now this is so much bigger than that, and it's still the same exact radio. But I really got into it, and when my dad and I started studying with Gordo's book, which really helped those who don't have it. You should really get it because it's very helpful. It's a lot of fun. I've got to talk to people. The furthest person that I've talked to was from California to Nashville, where I'm from. So I thought that was kind of neat to talk to somebody from my hometown. And it's just a lot of fun. And it's one big family. And it's interesting to think of it in that way, but it really is. And everybody's been very welcoming. If you have questions, it's very nice to be able to get on and ask questions. And it's a lot of fun. I like doing the ham nets. Those are really neat. I like being able to get on and talk and hear other people talk. It's really fun because I like to hear other people's conversations, which it's weird to say that because nothing's private on ham radio. So I like hearing other people talk. At first I didn't. I was like, all I want to do is talk, but now I just like to turn my radio on and listen to it. Excuse me. And it's been a really fun journey with my dad and I because that's something that we could do together, and 30 years from now we'll be able to look back and go, man, we did that together. And he's already studying for the next class. I have to finish school before I study for my general. I have to do that. Last Man Standing Season 8 will be out in January of 2019, so that's good. That's good news. Yeah, there we go. We got one person clapping. Nice. For those of you that have little kids in your family, I have a Disney animated series, which will be out this summer on Disney Junior. It's called Tots, T-O-T-S. I play Pip the Penguin, so if you like penguins, be sure to tune in to Tots on Disney. I want to thank Gordo for having me. This has been so much fun so far, and I just got here like 30 minutes ago. Thank you for having me. It's just been a blast. I encourage anybody that doesn't have their license to definitely get their license, especially the kids out there that don't, because it's something that you can have for the rest of your life. You just have to renew it every 10 years, so set that on your calendar. And thank you all so much for having me, and back to you, Carol.
Thank you, sir. Well, we hope to have an absolute blast today. You will always be welcome here at the Florida. You are a beautiful role model. And please pass along, watch the show, and now you have a special person. Uriah, you think you're terrific. We're big supporters of the show. Thank you for coming. Gordon, thank you. Gordon is a member of my promoting everything to do with young people like yourself and ham radio. Let's say hi to John and thank him. He was instrumental, I know, in getting your license as well. So let's have a big round of applause for John. That's wonderful. Thank you, Gordon. We keep shuffling guest speakers back and forth between Hamvention and the Youth Forum. We just had the Space Weather lady who will be speaking later, and she was taken out in exchange for him coming in. So this is all the behind the scenes stuff. It's all good plans. Again, I'm going to speak quickly. The next thing I want to make sure I get in, and I know I have people who only have 1 minute of an announcement for you, but we've got so many of them. I want to make sure I get in the Young Ham Lends a Hand contest winner. Now, this contest, you can start recommending people for after you leave here today, you see what it's all about. It's totally informal. It's you writing an email to me, no forms to fill out, nothing like that, about why you think somebody deserves to get this award, which gets announced here each year. This is a contest that's sponsored by RCA and QCWA. The winner is always announced at this forum, and they receive a $100 check and get a big write-up from me in a column about their good works. This should be a young person, 19 or younger, who is representative of our amateur radio tenet of service and volunteering to their community, such as assisting an elderly person or military personnel. It can be a young ham who helps with radio recruiting and or the tutoring of other young people, or it can be a simply written statement. It does not have to be the use of the radio for what you are recommending them. They do have to be a licensed youngster, but who's someone who is practicing the basic tenet of volunteerism. And the contest closes April 1st. My RCA Youth Committee and I decide who it should be. And this year, and by the way, just send it to my email, wb2mgp, Mighty Good Professor, at gmail.com. That's all there is to it, and then we announce the winner here. We had such a hard time, you'll be happy to know, with the suggested nominees this year, that this year we are awarding 2 of them. And I will announce each one. Neither one of them knows who it is yet because it's being announced here. The first winner is Reba, KC9ZJX. I'm going to let you stand here. Your check is in the mail, as we say. This youngster has spoken at about 5 or 6 at my forums through the course of the year, including being a young presenter here. His resume is longer than your arm's length square, but just briefly so you know why he was chosen. He's a 14-year-old high school freshman, a student of associate's degree in computer science at Normal Community High School in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. He got a ham radio technician license when he was 9 years old, which made him the youngest amateur radio operator of Indian origin in the world and in the state of Illinois. The Limca Book of Records officially declared the same in the Limca Book of Records in 2015. At 10, Drew passed his general class amateur radio license. He entered for the second time into the Limca Book of Records in 2016 as the youngest general class ham radio operator in the world of Indian origin. Are you getting embarrassed? This gave him the opportunity to inspire youth to get into the world of ham radio by letting them know the importance of ham radio. The youth that we speak about includes his school classmates, local communities, and also school students in India. He's got quite a varied background in emergency communications in every aspect that you could possibly think of. I know him. And congratulations to you. And as I said, the check will be in the mail for this year's winner. Wearing those yellow necklaces. This is good information, which is why I'm allowing these announcements. Neil?
Just want to mention from the ARIS Education Committee that the proposal window just closed, but there will be another one in the fall. So if you are interested in doing an ARIS contact on the space station with a group of young people, there is a proposal process that you need to go through, but it's very doable, and there's a lot of support to help you get through all of that. So if you're interested in that, please stop by over at the AMSAT booth with ARIS and talk to one of our people over there, or go to ARIS.org, and we'll help you get that accomplished. Thank you.
Neil is good. He sticks to my guidelines. And Neil has also been responsible for mentoring several of the young speakers through meetings, including one great one that we've got coming up today. This is my good friend Bruce, and he also sticks to my guidelines with something really important for you to know about.
Thank you, Carol. I'm Bruce K1BG. I belong to an organization called CW Ops, which is a worldwide group of Morse code enthusiasts. And for the past 5 years, we've had a program called CW Academy, where over 6,000 students have learned Morse code, conversational Morse code, getting on the air, using it every day, and enjoying the benefits of knowing and using Morse code. The waiting list for the class is anywhere from 6 months to 2 years, and we've decided to fast track youth in the program. So there is a youth CW Academy. I currently have 7 students that are between the ages of 9 and 14. They're having an absolute blast learning the Morse code. It's an 8-week program. You're expected to do a little bit of work every day and meet twice a week with your advisor to go over the weekly lesson. If anyone is interested in learning the Morse code and enjoying that part of the hobby, you can look me up on Kilo 1 Bravo Golf. You can go to cwops.org, short for cwoperators.org, and follow the links to CW Academy. There's lots of ways to find out about it, and that's a lot of fun. Thank you, Carol.
Okay, all good information, and I'm going to remind you again, does anybody have not filled out one of those prize tickets yet? Okay, make sure you get them up front. And I'm going to ask John. I promised John, who has donated a set of books to all the presenters, that again, you've got the 1 minute, the 1 minute limit. We want to thank him for the donation that he made to the youngsters as well. John?
Hello, I am John Slobodin. I am the inspiring author of Blizzard Games, paranormal and science fiction series. So, if any of you are into snow sports, they involve Red Gerard and his friends. I've got 2 books in here. One is called Wiping Out as a Deadly Plane Crash, The other one is called Race for Your Life. Now, Carol, you read the first book, Deadly Plane Crash, and you commented it was a good, scary book that gave you the heebie-jeebies. All right. This one, the second one, Race for Your Life, is actually a fourth kind encounter. Everybody knows what the fourth kind is with UFOs and extraterrestrials. So, anyway, the best way you can help me with my books is these 10 lucky winners. Just read it and just tell your friends and talk it up to help me get more books out there. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you, John, for helping us out at the forum. Okay, now we have a very interesting theme for you for this year's Youth Forum. And I have been looking forward to telling you about this theme for the better part of 10 months. The theme for this year is that of ham radio inclusiveness, especially for youngsters. Today's young 8 presenters are representatives from different countries, different cultures, and different abilities. All of them are bright, creative, and eager to speak and share their ideas right here with you. So I would like you to listen really carefully first, so that those of you who are always asking about recruitment ideas or how to retain interest with young people in ham radio, listen to what these young presenters will be speaking about. They're all passionate about their topics, and they're all different topics of things that have intrigued them enough to want to get up here and speak and share with you. So, different aspects of amateur radio and different passions that each of them has. So, I know I can count on you to be your usually, as you usually are, your totally supportive and my love audience, as you always are, and I think you're in for a real special treat today. The first youngster, first of all, I would like to wish happy birthday to is Connor Black, W4IPC, who is 17 years old and celebrating a birthday next week. Now, he comes to me from a club. This is one of the places where I get my talented youngsters from people like you, different clubs, different members, different ways that you run into exciting youngsters. He comes from K4AMG Amateur Radio Memorial Club in Virginia, where I have gotten several speakers on recommendation from this group that works with young people. Now, Connor is president of the Great Bridge High School Amateur Radio Club, and his topic is working amateur satellites and DX contesting. So, Connor, welcome up to the podium, and let's welcome Connor.
Smile, camera. Camera, 1, 2, 3. There we go, 1, 2, 3. Good, thank you.
Okay, good morning. My name is Connor Black, call sign W4IPC. I'm a junior at Great Bridge High School and also the president of the radio club. And today's topic is working amateur satellites and DX contesting. So what is an amateur radio satellite? So they're basically little repeaters in orbit that are hundreds of kilometers above the Earth's surface, And many of them are just about 3 inches by 3 inches little cubes. And those are the new ones that are going up. They're very fun to work. And they orbit anywhere from 400 to 2,000 kilometers above the surface, depending on where they get shot into orbit. And the pass times are relatively short, of about 12 to 22 minutes, but it's fun to work, but their contacts on the FM satellites are pretty quick to make. So basically your uplink is, you go uplink on one band, and the downlink is on a different band, so the satellite is sort of a crossband repeater, and you go up on one frequency, and you can hear yourself on the other frequency, usually, and you come down on another frequency to someone else, and they go up and down to you. And so what do you need to work a satellite? Well, you don't really need that much. All you need is 2 cheap, well, what I use is 2 cheap handhelds and just a 2-meter 440 avenue that you hold in your hand. You don't need too much. And I have a high school station which I normally use, which is, it's a tower, it runs a computer, so it's all automated, and a Kenwood TS2000 radio that makes it a lot easier to work these satellites, just the lazy man's way sitting in the table. So where are these satellites and who can you talk to? So the higher in the air the satellite is, the larger the footprint of it is that you can talk to people on. And when the satellites are just barely up over the horizon is when it's best to talk on them, because you can get people much further away than if they are right overhead. And it works just like repeaters do. You can, the farther you are from the center, the farther you can talk away to someone else. The further people are, you can talk to. And there's also lots of DX on satellites. What is DXing now? DXing is talking to faraway stations and talking to the furthest station away as possible. It's fun to talk to these exotic and rare places, especially ones that don't get on the air very often. And it's fun to collect QSL cards and all these exotic countries, they're pretty interesting cards they have. And I have some from Panama, Italy, I have one from Australia, so it's very fun to collect these QSL cards and talk to all these interesting people around the world. So what is a DX contest? Well, contesting is sort of the sporty aspect of ham radio. Most contests, such as the DARA DX sideband contest, give multipliers to your points for talking to new countries or zones. And the point is to contact as many foreign stations as you can in a certain amount of time. And the DX contests are great ways to gain points towards your DXCC awards. And a couple examples, I've worked Japan, Antarctica, and a bunch of other different countries during these contests. They're great times to get on the air if you want to work some of the rare stations. And so, what do you need for a DX contest? Well, you don't really need much. You need a radio and an antenna. That's all you need. But a lot of stations that enter these contests have big antennas, high power, all these fancy radios. But for the longest time, I just used a dipole and 100 watts until I got a bit of an upgrade on the bottom right corner, slight upgrade. And did I win any of these contests with 100 watts? No, but it's fun participating in these contests. You can have all the league limit power in the world, but your antenna is the most important part of your station because if you can't hear anybody, all your power is useless. That is it.
Okay, our next speaker, I have a few words to say, has worked so hard and so passionately for his presentation, and I personally want to thank all the parents of all the young presenters, because it really does become a family adventure and things that you all get involved with. But this young man was lucky enough to have a personal mentor who gets my personal thanks as well, and tremendous parental support. So I know you're all going to be especially appreciative of our next speaker, who is Isaac Schover, AC3CJ. He's 14 years old and holds an extra class license. Besides ham radio, he likes photography and designs video game levels. Isaac volunteers at the KID Museum by operating the KN3 KID amateur radio station, and is a member of Silverstack, a youth group that is working towards building a CubeSat that they hope to launch in space. Isaac is also a member of the Montgomery Amateur Radio Club youth group, who have built BITX40 radios, and he's here to tell us about what he's building. Please welcome Isaac.
Just give me a few moments for me to get set up. This is it.
Yeah, is it the same as last night? Should be on the desktop. They switch laptops? Should be on the desktop.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Carol. Hello, my name is Isaac, AC3CJ, and I have speech apraxia, so bear with me. Today, I would like to talk about the Montgomery Amateur Radio Club Youth Project, the BitX40 Workshop. Our project was to build, test, tolerate, and get the BitX40 on the air. We worked on it at our local makerspace and tested it at the park. So, what is the BitX40? It is a $59 radio from India. The radio board and the Arduino display board are pre-assembled and tested, but the casing and speaker aren't included. So, this is a picture of the makerspace where we worked. First, we need to cut holes in the case for the various controls and connectors. The hardest hole to cut was the square hole. We needed to use left and right-handed aviation shears to cut it. After we cut This is our dummy globe. It's made of 20 1-kilo-ohm resistors wired in parallel, and I use the dummy globe for transmitting tests. We needed to perform a few transmitting and receiving tests, so we attached a 1-foot wire to the dummy globe. To test the BX40 receiver, we used a U-Kit graphical antenna analyzer. The reason we're using the antenna analyzer is because it is a very low power transmitter, so we set it to repeatedly sweep across the 40-meter band with a rubber duck antenna. To calibrate the frequency display, we used an LoRa XG3. Our digital notes interface is a bunch of stuff, most of it from the computer store. I'll be putting up the parts with the mouse pointer. This is the USB hub. It's there to save space on the computer. Connected to it is a USB audio interface and a USB to serial adapter for push to call. The antenna is an off-center fed dipole with a loading code for 40 meters. To test the antenna, we use a Fox filter antenna analyzer, also from India. We measured an SWR of less than 1.5 to 1 across the band. Here's a screenshot of stations I heard on FT8. And although no one responded, here is a map of stations that heard me and reported to PSK Reporter, which is an online spot map. I'm here in Maryland, and there's a station near Boston, a station near Detroit, and the station near Louisville. This one may be hard to see, but it's in Indiana. I learned that the BX40 is fun to build, is great for additional nodes, and is good for experimenting. But I recommend it to be built with an experienced mentor because all of the kids, including myself, messed it up at least once. Most of it is from not following the directions. So here's a picture of some of the kids who worked on the BX40 and their mentors. I'd like to thank those mentors who did an astounding job with helping the BX40 workshop, and special thanks to David W2LMX for being my helper and making the workshop possible. If you have any questions, please come up to me after the forum. Thank you for listening.
He was great. Let's give him another round of applause. He worked so hard on this. I'm so proud of you. That's an excellent presentation. And thank you, David, for all the mentoring, and thanks to the parents and everybody. You were terrific. Thank you. Okay, that's what makes this all worthwhile. Okay, now it's time to get some female up here. Yes. By the way, when I taught Introduction to Amateur Radio for 30 years, with over 900 youngsters a year radio coming through the program, I can report to you with some credibility, through the years the young ladies did just as well as the boys did when it came to trying for that FCC license. So that's from a lot of groundwork experience. Okay, next we have someone who was recommended to me, and again, the recommendations, I deputize everybody in this room, always come from other hands, from parents, from family members, from club members. You encounter a youngster on the air who sounds articulate and passionate about some aspect of the hobby that they would be willing to share. Then all you do is recommend them to me, and I would interview them, etc. And then we have a wonderful array each year that we were lucky enough to have. This is Marissa Robledo, W4AQT. Robledo, and she was recommended by my good friend Neil Rapp, who I know since he was the world's youngest ham radio operator, and I used to have his QSL card. You were about, what, 7? I used to have his QSL card hanging up in my classroom as a role model for the students in my class. And now he's recommended other young people. Marissa is 12 years old, and she did a science fair project which compares the signal strength of a whip antenna versus a Yagi on satellites. And she will speak about the ways that students like her learn from satellite operations. And so her topic is why amateur radio satellites are great for students to get involved with. Marissa?
Hi, I'm Mr. Reba, W4AQT, and today I'm going to lead a lot of training talent and enrichment activities for students like me. I got my technician's license in 2017 I got my technician's license in 2017 when I was 10 years old. I currently have a direct class license and I'm studying for my extra class. I got my license because I often spent time outside with my dad who was making contacts via amateur radio satellites. I know that I got my license because I was interested in weather and wanted to get active in Skyrim. I met a kid from E4D and he was license back in 1994. He's looked at one of the names I attended 2018 Ancestors Closing and House volunteer for Down syndrome. It was a lot of fun. When I joined the Government Baseline Center, we had a really nice group together. The coolest thing is that I took in contact with Irving's Drainage Center on the International Space Station. This is one of the coolest jobs I've ever worked in. This is the cutest little card I got, which took from my contact with the International Space Station. The fun thing about the slides is talking to different people from different places and countries. When you make contact with other soccer workers, let them know where they are when they go to visit. Phone freaks and events is cute. When you have made contact with people from 100 different groups, you can get your UCC award from the DARA. As of right now, I have made contact with people from over 175 different groups. When I write in slides, you must be awards for being sad. It's fun to get awards and read in the mail. They're actually surprisingly easy to get. Like I said, enjoy slides because they let me plan out amazing. And I make them perfect for students who have to have other activities happen every day. The other cool thing about slides is I for the school. Because learning to how to sound out of our radio waves, math, and geometry. In the three semester, I decided to make a kid contact with elementary style. First place in my school and one third place in the major science fair. And I should be able to sacrifice for an education. In closing, I would encourage all youth to decide to try and start on an educational education. What is an inexpensive ADHD? You can access the slides on the web. If you're too good at ADHD, you can offer these slides for the class for your daily use or your translate. You can also find more information about virtual slides at LoRa, and there are a lot of shout offers, including me, and Twitter, where you can also receive help and advice. I'd like to thank Ms. Carol and Tiffany for giving the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you, and 73.
Okay, speaking of DX, I would like to recommend that at some point during your stay at the convention, you stop by the Dave Paulter Memorial booth, and if you've got a youngster who loves DXing, stop by this booth. This is where a youngster and a parent get to go for free to a DX on a, what would we call it, a DX expedition, a fabulous experience for them. It's free. Have we got people who have been on that? Why don't you stand up? Fabulous, yeah, hi. Many of our young achievers have been selected to go, and it's a fabulous experience. Stop by that booth and get more information, and you may have a youngster in mind who will have the opportunity of a lifetime. It's for a really excellent, Dave was an excellent friend of youth activities for many years. Okay, now we have Galen Gold, KB6EE, who is a student at Rensselaer Polytech Institute. He is an officer of the Young Amateurs Radio Club, WY4RC. He is 20 years old now, and some of the topics have changed since you saw the listing in the program book, because that listing goes months ago. And his topic is going to be an interesting one, contesting for youth, by youth, with YARC, which is his organization. So I'm interested to hear what yours is going to be about. Galen?
All right, so today I'm going to be talking about contesting, but not from the participating side, but from the organizing side. So I'm Galen, KB6EE, so I'm a senior at Princeton Polytechnic Institute, BS in Electrical Engineering. I'm president of our radio club there, W2SZ. And mostly what I do on the air is VHF and microwave with our alumni group, W2SZ, Mount Greylock Expeditionary Force. Yeah, everywhere. And I'm the treasurer and contest manager for the Young Amateurs Radio Club, which is an international radio club that's meant to promote engagement with young fans. And you can find it online at kb6.ee. The slides will be up there later. So the Young Amateurs Radio Club, WY4RC, founded by David Boston, KF1SHY. We have over 280 members worldwide, and I encourage you all to join. You can find the way to join on our website, yarp.world. It's free, and it's very easy to do. And our mission is basically to provide a voice for young hams everywhere, and to engage them and promote the hobby amongst young people. So the events that I've helped organize with the young YARP, the YARP Booster Party, we first ran it as more of a test run in summer, early July 2018. And the way we did it is there are two categories. If you're over 30, you talk to young people. If you're under 30, you talk to anyone. And it's a kiosk party. It's very casual. This first time we tried allowing things like Echolink satellites, other internet linking, but that didn't really work. And because we want to encourage technicians, we want to do HF and UHF and VHF. So 160 meters to 77 meters. And so to keep it like a QSO party, we also had bonus stations using our club call sign. And so this was not publicized well, and we ended up, and the conditions were horrible. So we ended up getting only one model, which was me. And it was me talking to two people on that plane. So, so then we did it again in December 2018. We did it more traditional this time. So no internet linking, no satellites, just simplex, 160 meters to 77 meters. This happened to coincide with the NOAA special event stations. So all over the country there were WX stations calling for their special event. And that really helped boost some scores, because we could give them the exchange for their special event, and then they could tell us their age, and that would count for our contest. So that helped boost QSOs. We had 3 bonus stations. This time we chose to use one-by-one call signs, which is an interesting experience, signing up for those and all that. And the Society of Midwest Contesters has a list of all these college clubs in the nation. So we tried to email all of those. We got a bunch of bounces because the list is fairly old. But we also reached out to the yacht group, which is focused on more younger males. And even more, we were in the contest corral with QST. We talked to Bruce Warren about it. And we tried to get the word out more. And then as another incentive for more participation, KB7 BBC, the owner of hamstudy.org and Signal Stuff, prizes, and we were able to give out most of those with participation in most of our categories. So we had 20 logs submitted, we had 4 old people and 16 young hams that submitted logs. And we actually had some pretty good scores for a weekend when nothing else is going on except that one event. So I would like to announce our next Yard Cuso party. It will be August 24th for 12 hours in this August, and it coincides with the Ohio and Hawaii state Cuso parties. So we're hoping that that really boosts cross participation between contests. You can visit our website, dark.world/events for more information. The rules are still being finalized and it will be on contest calendar soon, but the basic information, the dates are set. So now, we encountered one major problem when running these contests. How do we score them? You know, for 18 logs or 20 logs, it's not that bad. You can just cross-reference them manually. Maybe write a simple script to do it. But once we have maybe hundreds of entries, we don't really want to do that. We want to have some sort of automatic way of posting the rules, submitting the logs, collecting the logs, showing preliminary results, and scoring things, and it's kind of all automatic. So, myself and NY7H, if that's still the small sign, he changes a lot, we're working on a web app to do all that in one unified system. And it's still a work in progress, but we're really hoping to debut it with the August YARC QSO party. And what we really hope to do is to have it be work for everyone, not just our projects. So my last topic is the DARA Youth Content Program, which is modeled after the effort in IARU Region 1 with the Youngsters on the Air organization, and Team Exuberance at K3LI, where we're trying to get young people at big gun contest stations so they can get the contesting experience at the big guns. And if you don't have the access to a normal HS station or something like that. So the first time we did it was CPWPF this past year, and we had 17 youth sign up and 10 big gun stations sign up. We were able to match 12 of them within distance, driving distance, and all that. But only one of them worked out because scheduling was pretty hard. What's next? We're going to do it again. This July, the IAR Youth Contest, we're going to do it again. And so yark.world/YCP, you can see more information, sign up yourself as both a big gun or a young ham. And we should be announcing pairings starting June 15th, and the deadline would be June 30th to sign up. And then, so, in summary, August 24th, YARC Summer QSO Party 2019. You can join YARC, yark.world/join, and you can visit us. We're in Building 4. We had in the area with Yasmin Foundation and Yoda and us. Come talk to us. That's where I'll be most of the day. We have a few other people there. And if you want to email me, contests@yark.world and board@yark.world, both work. Thank you.
Great, well, that's was a lot of good information. Hopefully, enough of you are getting some good ideas here. Take notes, take copious notes, and anything that you think you might have missed, you can always get in touch with me, and I'm happy to provide the reference material for you. I'm also at this point going to announce this is the last chance to bring up those prize tickets, and if you haven't submitted one yet,
Well, that's it, they're all gone.
and they're all gone, okay.
That's why I get here early.
So let's hope for good luck at the drawing, which we will have in a bit. Okay, a word about the next speaker who's coming up. CPKE0MWB comes to me from a dear friend, and those of you who have been with us through the decades, Ellie Van Winkle and her husband Rick from the BAR, Boulder Amateur Radio Club in Boulder, Colorado. For years and years, Ellie supplied me with very, very talented young speakers, and unfortunately, right before the 30th anniversary of this youth forum, she passed away. But her work and her influence goes on, and from that club, we have CP, who has been looking forward to speaking as well. But I share with you that a lot of the youngsters who are here come from clubs that do mentoring for young people. And if that's something you're doing with a church group, a youth group, a scouting group, you know what we're looking for up here. As soon as you spot it, put them in touch with me. So it's always special when I see somebody coming from the bar club. Send my regards there. Now here's a topic especially I would like you to be aware of, because I experience an interest in this of young people all across the country, and that's emergency preparedness. Now there are lots and lots of good organizations for you to get involved with that support this. CERT and FEMA have special programs for young people. And Charles, who you met before, is very actively involved with this in Colorado, and has prepared a whole resource list of links. So perhaps he will be inspiring you to get involved, or encourage young people to get involved with it. And I will be happy to send you that reference list of the ways that you can get involved with this with young people. So I'm happy you picked this topic. CP, let's get you up here. KE0MWB, working with FEMA and emergency preparedness. Hot topic across the country with young people now.
Smile for the cameras. Smile. 1, 2, 3, cheese. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you. Here we go.
Emergency preparedness behind camera radio.
Bring the mic up, young man. Close.
Hi everyone. My name is Stevie Raja. My call sign is Kilo Echo Zero Mike Whiskey Bravo. I am a member of our junior Boulder Amateur Radio Club. I am also a member and a co-chair of FEMA's Region 8 Youth Preparedness Council. I'm here to talk to you all about the importance of emergency preparedness, what FEMA is, as well as the connection between preparedness and amateur radio. But before I get into all these, let's make sure we're all on the same page. So what is emergency preparedness exactly? Well, emergency preparedness disaster occurs, local government and organizations will try to help, but you need to be ready as well. Every citizen is part of an emergency management preparedness system. Think of the emergency pyramid as you, the citizen, forming the base of the structure. One of the first things you can do is to make an emergency kit to have in homes, vehicles, and workplaces. So just by a show of hands, how many of you guys have an emergency kit just like this one up here? That's good. Well, for those of you who don't know about a disaster kit, a few of the basic things you would need to include in these would be food, water, a battery-powered radio, a flashlight, sanitation items, and matches. Now, the list can seem endless with steps you can take to be ready for disasters, but any step is better than no step. For more ideas, visit ready.gov. Sometimes it is necessary to turn to others within the local community for help. The local level is the second tier of the pyramid, and it is made up of employees and volunteers. These individuals are engaged in preventing and responding to disasters. Most emergencies are handled at the local level, which puts a tremendous responsibility on the community for taking care of their citizens. But if support and resources are needed beyond what the local level can provide, communities can request assistance from the state and federal government. The pyramid begins with you, the citizen, and your ability to follow good emergency management practices. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is part of the U.S. government, and it is centered around emergency preparedness. For 40 years now, FEMA's mission remains to lead America to prepare for, prevent, respond to, and recover from disasters with the vision of a nation prepared. FEMA promotes emergency preparedness across the whole nation in many ways, one of which includes the youth in our communities. FEMA sponsors the National Youth Preparedness Council, along with 10 regional councils. These councils were created to bring together young people who are interested in supporting emergency preparedness. The Youth Preparedness Council supports FEMA's commitment to involve America's youth in preparedness-related activities. Members of these councils get assistance from FEMA staff and work together by completing disaster preparedness projects, both locally and nationally. Examples of projects include pulling active shooter trainings, how to prepare first aid kits, educating people on the possible local hazards in their communities, and many more. As a member and a coacher of Region 8 City Council, my personal project is to promote emergency preparedness to several people through a speech, just like this one. All in all, FEMA has created youth preparedness councils to help people prepare for disaster situations. Already, all of us in this room are preparing for emergency situations through operating a radio. As we already know, radios provide the optimal stage of communication when phone lines are down and the internet is perfect. Through ham radio, important information can be conveyed in order to get help. FEMA and the Red Cross frequently rely on local campuses spreading key information in other communities. Take Puerto Rico, for instance. After the devastating hurricanes of 2017, Henry operators in Puerto Rico sprung into action after Hurricane Reba knocked out the island's communication, establishing a crucial contact with the rescue agencies. And we all get a chance to practice these skills a few times each year, during the summer and winter field days. Field day may just be a hobby for some of you, but it is an important exercise that encourages emergency preparedness communications among all of us hands. Some operators can use field day to simulate the environment during disasters. I encourage you all to try to make field day as disaster-like as possible by operating under tense and remote areas, using emergency and alternative power sources. FEMA and the ARRL already have a partnership hardship and emergency preparedness through the Citizen Corps, a program that provides training people around the country to assist in the recovery after a disaster. The Citizen Corps is just one way and can further get involved in preparedness. There are several other organizations too, such as the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, or ARES. ARES is supported by the ARRL, and it consists of licensed hands who voluntarily register their qualifications and equipment for their local areas leadership, for communications media and public service when disaster strikes. By already using and maintaining your cherished amateur radio equipment, you all are preparing for emergencies. Many of these organizations are for adults to take part in, but us youth can also get involved. Every year, FEMA opens up applications to the National Youth Preparedness Council in the springtime. Teenagers interested in promoting emergency preparedness can apply to take part in the National or Regional Youth Preparedness Council, just like me. Other kids wanting more life experience can become a Teen Serve, a community emergency response team member. This organization educates and provides training to members that would allow them to be capable of preparing for and responding to disasters. And of course, ham radio itself is a great way for kids to get involved in preparedness. It can be a potential hobby and also be very useful when disaster strikes. Emergency preparedness is an important aspect of our daily lives. It may seem like the odds of actually being affected by a disaster are very slim, but you can never be too sure. So, I mean, just by a show of hands, how many of you guys have possibly looked at writing out love in the next 48 hours? Awesome. Already you're all practicing amateur radio, which is a great first step. So today I'll talk to you about the importance of emergency preparedness, what FEMA is, and the connection between preparedness and amateur radio. I hope this helps change your take on emergency preparedness. Thank you.
Thank you. That was informative and so well done. You cannot possibly be sitting here and not being just having a smile on your ham heart at the way these young people are coming up and presenting us with great information and doing beautiful presentations. That was wonderful. Thank you. A lot of good information there. And again, that is a hot topic as I go across the country. People want more information about that. And so it's nice to see young people getting involved with this. I know you all agree with that. Okay, this next young lady, I not only have had the pleasure of having already heard her presentation at Hamvention in Orlando, and it was terrific. A lot of the young people, for your information, like to do a dress rehearsal. Besides, as I recommend that they do that with their local ham clubs and groups, that they come to other conventions that I'm speaking at and volunteer to speak at the youth forums there as well. Now, this young lady, Bonita Latham, KM4CLT, her family has 8 ham radio operators, and they are just wonderful. I have had the pleasure of meeting Mom and Dad, and of course your Violetta, who was the presenter here last year, and always terrific, always a pleasure to work with them. Bonita is 13 years old, and her hobby is contesting and building radios. She is in the 7th grade at the Little Mennonite School in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. And she's going to be speaking about Boy Scout Yoda. Scouting, another great resource, because now we have, besides the Boy Scout merit badge, there is the Girl Scout merit badge as well, in case you didn't know. Okay, Bonita.
Hi, I'm Reba, I'm course theology, and I'm going to be talking about some events I've done recently that combine radio and scouting. So you might ask, why does a girl help women and boys scout activities? Well, it all started in Georgia in 2017. We had 200 scouts, and we were asked if we would help them get on the air and teach them about radio and stuff. So we were on staff with Troop 113, which was a pretty small troop coming from the scouts. Well, a couple of them left, and so they were too small to get troop passes if they wanted to go to resorts and stuff. So my sister Violet and I would go with them, so we kind of became unofficial Boy Scouts. So the leader, Mr. Lawson, KD3 and we went, asked us if we would help with some other scouting activities. Some scouts seemed intimidated by us being there, but some of them were like, hey, if you're also going to do it, we're going to do it too. So just to show what I'm talking about, some would be Joda, Taylor, and the Air, exploring 113, Richard Kansas, and the Jack Harris. Cinematography. So we went to Cinematography Scout Camp every Tuesday and Wednesday from June 27th to August 1st. There were these 6 one-week camping periods, so there was a different group each week. So we would go Tuesday evening and do all the requirements with the radio merit badge, and then Wednesday we would do radio direction finding activity, and that was open to all the scouts. So some who had done radio merit badge would bring their buddies along. Most of them that came actually got on the radio, so that's pretty cool. The radio merit badge is one of the 100 radio merit badges you can earn in scouting. You learn what different kinds of radios are, how radio waves travel, safety of electricity radios. You have to visit a ham radio station and do a radio direction finding project. This is a radio setup. It was the ICOM 7300, which I call the to us, so we're going to call it the scouts. Our antenna was an 80-meter folded dipole, and it was about 40 feet off the ground. The thing you can see there is the lightning detector and ground rod, and the antenna, you can see the conductor port right above the top of that thing. So this is Tuesday evening, and Mr. McLaughlin is teaching the radio merit badge. This is one of the older sisters, Veronica, KD3 SSN, and she's showing them how the parts of the HF station and then how they compare to each other. This is Wednesday. They're getting ready to do their radio direction finding thing. They're running their family and taking vision games. Here, Mr. McCollum is teaching triangulation and how to hold your tin and get that signal. And during the class, I take you to the beacon there between the 2 trees. We gave all them who were interested a chance to get on the air, and a lot of them were like, hey, you know what, I think I can write a book about this sometime. Because they thought it was pretty cool to actually do it. Joda, 2018. So what is Jamboree on the air? It's a scouting activity where you can get communication badges, camping badges, learning badges. I don't have any from pictures from 2017, but we had 200 scouts, a hand and day class, a bee testing, and 2 or 3 meetings. We had a lot of fun in 2018. We're making and eating breakfast around the campfire and just playing games. Just chill. This is my brother Aaron and his friend Chase taking the radio merit badge. And we were running their field table dreams. So what happens when you find a transmitter and a channel and backstop? Your signal hits the metal and was bouncing in crazy directions, so they were going all around this park trying to find the poor thing. They learned where not to play when we tried to also find it. And they got all the radio as well. So when I went on, Troop 13 aged out, and the troop was too slow to return in 2018. So with the scouts, their sisters, and the kids from our family started up our Explore Post. It's pretty new, and it started in February Here's the JFK or John F. Kennedy race. The contestants had to run 50 miles in 13 hours. It was over the Appalachian Trail, Senior Canal, and the last little miles were the back roads. It was full and there was still some snow on the ground, so you can imagine how muddy it got after it was 900 rows came through. The first row finished at 5 hours, 34 minutes, and 21 seconds. You can see there's a camper in the background. There's some guys in there broadcasting on the radio, so all us kids are like, hey, let's go past the DJs. The red is the racetrack, and the blue is the Chesapeake Island Town Circle. And you can see down here's West Virginia, New Virginia, and up here's Maryland. This is the group that was there. It was my dad, my mom, my sister Viola, my brother Aaron, and John Joy, and myself. We were in that control operator, so we were at the finish line, and there were stations along the way where radio information us, like someone dropped out, if they needed a ride, if they needed medical attention, etc. We wanted to keep it up for runners, so if someone didn't come through at the end, you could tell if they were dropped out and taken care of, or if they're missing along the way somewhere. Here's some links if you want to find out more about this stuff, and if you want to know how to get involved in scouting activities, contact Mr. Walker or myself. Thank you.
Okay, lots of good information. Our next speaker, you're going to enjoy this on several different levels, comes to us from another country, New Zealand. And yes, thank you, and to your family. And she was recommended to me by Tim Duffy, who you may have heard of, who's President Emeritus of Radio Club of America. And he and I work together in many different ways also with coordinating, with recommending young people. But you're especially going to love when I announce her name. Her name is Xenia. And this was not done especially for her appearance here. That's her real name, Berger, ZL4YL. She's 18 years old, and she's going to be sharing some exciting things that she has experienced in getting involved in ham radio. So we think it's so appropriate with your name for this occasion. So let's have a nice big welcome for Xenia.
Both of you guys here, she wins also the longest distance in airplane travel. There we go. 1, 2, 3, cheese, emulsification. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And then 1, 2, 3, cheese. Another shot. There we go. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you. Good.
Hi. Good morning. I'm Xenia, like she said, ZL4YL. I was born into a ham radio family. My dad was Delta Lima 7 India Oscar, and my mom was Delta Lima 7 India Quebec. When I was 4 weeks old, I went on my first expedition, which was an IoT activity to EU 129. An island called Islam in the Baltic Sea. 2 months later was my first international trip to Malta, 9 years straight over, and 4 months after that, we moved to EA6. Within my first year, I had taken part in 3 of the expeditions. At least that's what I was told. That was enough. Every year, we would go on 1 or more trips and raid
My parents also changed their course names to ZL3IO and ZL2IO. At 9 years old, I began to live Moscow, together with my older sister, who at the time was studying for her radio license test. Shortly after that, she became ZL2GQ. By this time, we had started to build a contest station, known today as ZL14, but it wasn't until 2015 that I got my own license, which is the ZL4YL. Since I was quite a shy child, and still am, to be honest, I was not a big talker. I was, and still am, terrible at small talk. Hence, I much prefer CW over XSB, where I can enjoy making radio contacts without the awkward monosyllabic answers that are my version of drag chewing. Due to my dad's contesting influence, I quickly turned into a contesting fanatic as well. I enjoy contesting, not just because I can be quite a competitive person, but also because the only small talk that's required is the occasional good luck. Luckily, I live at the Z14 contest station, which means that I was able to reach a good T60 standing due to the decent antenna setup, and are now at approximately 245 countries. For the first 2 years, amateur radio for me was mainly contesting, either as a single or multi-op. It wasn't until I was 16 that we, my dad and I, did our first CAD radio project together, which was building a CW scanner based on a Reba tire. The scanner uses the contest station antennas when we're not operating, and therefore has a pretty big ear. Today, I operate 2 Reba tires, one in CW and one in 88. They scan 8 bands in parallel and report their spots to the reverse beacon network and PSK recorder. Some of you may have seen your course name being spotted by the ZL4YL scanner. 2 years ago, my dad managed to qualify for the WRTC 2018 and chose me as his teammate. During 2017 and 2018, I often contested as a single operator to practice as part of my own WRTC preparation. Having access to a decent contest station and still being a rookie allowed me to set a few records. For example, I hold 4 rookie world records in the WPX contests, the single operator all-band CW and RTTY, as well as the single band 40 meters for CW and SSB. Seen on the slide are only my ZL4YL contacts, not the ones I did as part of ZL14. WRTC was amazing, even though we didn't manage to win. This time, the being welcomed among the best of the best and putting faces to the calls that you hear on the bands was just awesome. Every one of the other competitive referees and volunteers was welcoming, open, and helpful. I thought that we were going to be the unknown underdogs, but everyone seemed to know me by name. It was a week packed with action and excitement. Now, although I had operated a number of times for well over 24 hours in contests before, I was very exhausted at the end of the WRTC. When operating from New Zealand, we often have slow periods, since we only have another 100 to 200 contestants within a 10,000-kilometer radius of us. In Germany, I didn't know where to point the antennas, since stations were coming from all around us. I never thought that we'd be able to log over 3,500 or so with low power in 24 hours, but we did. our national organization advertised for youth officer. I applied for the position and got accepted, and am now the official youth officer for the NZAI team. Additionally to managing our youth group, I now write a regular column for our club magazine and try to organize the next youth activities. Like K3RR, we also organized youth participation in the WPX SSD contest from the ZN40 station. Now, since in New Zealand everything happens on a slightly smaller scale, we only have 3 youth operators. Unfortunately for us, 48-hour contests end at noon on Mondays, which means we're only able to participate in about 30 hours since we have to go back to school and sleep. As promised, we got 2 seats for the 2019 Youth Camp of the IAIU Region 1, which will be held in August in Bulgaria. The team event will be Jaden, Zedel Forward-Stevenski, and myself. The challenge now was to fundraise the travel costs for the 2 of us. To do this, we did a lot of marketing activities, like informing leaflets in all of our branches of our idea. We even managed to receive a small support from the IAIU Region 3. A few weeks ago, we set up a website where the individual sponsors and were overwhelmed by the support from everyone. NZAT and even a few US hands have donated as well. So far, we have managed to raise nearly 70% of the needed costs through that. We will continue our fundraising activities, as well as working in part-time jobs to finance the rest. In 2 weeks, I will be at the annual New Zealand International Hamvention Conference, which is just a little bit smaller than this one. To inform people about our youth activities. Beyond the camp, our youth group is looking to be involved in the January of the year, the Wellington Make Fair, and of course, 2019 December Directors Webinar. Hopefully, we will have ZN40 fully remote control by then. All of my life, I have been a part of the ham radio family. Because of this, I have had a lot to do with amateur radio. However, it wasn't until last year, following the WRTC, that I became actively involved. Organizing a group of youngsters for the Directors Webinar was the start of that, and I only got positive since. If you wonder why I don't came in events now as often as before, well, that's right. And that's about as far as I've gone in my story of being involved in amateur radio. Thank you, Lisa.
That is for sure. And thank you so much. That's like a special thing. Okay, now again, from another country, we have Jose Fox, XE3FOX, who comes to us from Mexico City. And besides the warm welcome I'd like you to give him, I can also tell you behind the scenes, this young man went through a lot, and so did his family, to get here today. And so a special warm round of applause. He's going to be speaking to us about LoRa technology. So a special warm welcome for Jose Fox.
There we go. I'll say, here. 1, 2, 3, cheese. And 1, 2, 3, cheese. Thank you.
Chirp with increasing frequency is called an up chirp, and with a decreasing frequency is called a down chirp. This is a picture of an up chirp and a down chirp. These chirps make up a bigger system called chirp spread spectrum, or known as CSS. Here are some examples of a LoRa signal on a waterfall. I'd say it looks pretty interesting. The chirps vary depending on frequency and bandwidth to modulate the data that we want. Transmissions can vary between 30 seconds and 30 minutes. I'm sure they can be longer, but I've never seen any longer than that. Very far right, you notice the same repeating pattern. That is the LoRa preamble. It is used for the detection of the signal and time synchronization by the receiver. It consists of 10 up chirps and 2 down chirps, which you can see clearly on the waterfall. LoRa is a closed source protocol, and it is patented by Semtech. This means that it can only be decoded by Semtech provided hardware, and obviously the protocol is open source. There are people trying to decode it currently. One person who does a good job of this is Sicken. I think that's what his name. He's from, I believe, New Zealand actually. You can find all this information at that website. He's very good at what he does. Okay. Alright, so LoRa operates in the ISM band, which means industrial, scientific, and military. You do not need a license for this device, for this frequency. North America consists of 315 megahertz or 915 megahertz, and Europe is 433 megahertz and 868 megahertz. And there's a map of the ISM band. LoRa is limited to a maximum of 500 kilohertz bandwidth in Europe and 250 kilohertz bandwidth in North America. Due to the very low bandwidth, the transfer speeds are very small. It's about 1500 bps, 5400 bps or less. This is really only suitable for the transmission of GPS coordinates, temperature readings, and other sensitive conditions. So what I wanted to do as a project originally was have an SMS system, kind of like the one Lazy Fusion and DMR has, but due to the major bandwidth limitations, it would take about 4 minutes to transmit a complete message, and no one wants to wait 4 minutes to send a single text. I don't have enough experience to make a variant of LoRa with enough bandwidth to make this faster. And it's closed source anyway, so that would have been really impossible. It was at this time that a friend of mine mentioned making an APRS bridge with LoRa to transmit location data or weather across long distances using enough power. After a bit of Googling, I found only 2 attempts at this. One by Dumb, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, which is the Australian Amateur Association, and the other by 077 TMD in Denmark. He's a developer of a tool called Arnode, which is a tool suite designed for working with LoRa signals. This program is excellent, and there is a way to bridge APRS and LoRa, but I cannot figure out the configuration for that. I got to doing some Googling, and I found 2 designs that are how to get this to work. Most of them are a 3W shield with a pyramid chipset on it, which is a LoRa transmitter. However, these are really expensive for what they are. States dollars, and really they should not be worth that much. It's just a PCB with a single chip on it. The design needs to be recreated. I found the R796 chip, which is a LoRa transceiver, on eBay from China, which they're about USB $6. And they have multiple frequency bands available for different regions. There's 868 for Europe and 315 for North America. Originally, I wanted to make some sort of a UART interface for it so that I could do something like dialogue directly with it and not have to do anything extra. But that would have been too costly, and there was no time for custom PCBs to arrive from China. Anyway, so yeah, I can use LoRa gateway dialogue if I was able to get the interface, but that wasn't the one out. Okay, so the software that I used LoRa gateway for the modulation decoding, which you can find on our website. And then I used DARA as the data modem to put the information into the APRS network. The software is pretty cool. You can get an APRS ID with it. The good thing about APRS is that it requires very minute amount of information to function properly. All you really need is the time, the GPS coordinates, the station identifier. I figured I could transmit all of this in about a 42-byte packet, which is great for the internet with LoRa. Okay, so it's really comprehensive. I have a flow chart here. LoRa gateway detects and decodes the transmission, then feeds the data to DARA into a format that it can parse, and DARA sends the data into the APRS network, and we can then read on the map, such as this one. Okay, as for the packet format, this is pretty simple. Like I said, everything fits in about 42 bytes of data. So all that's required is a station identifier, a location, and a time and date. This is an example. R09WO is a station, which is at latitude 557522, longitude 376155, and on May 18, 2019, the last visit. Here's another example. The demonstration of the identifier RA5TN is at 194284, latitude 099, 1276 longitude, which is equivalent of -99, at 3 a.m. for 52 minutes and 10 seconds on March 18, 2019. For the transmitting side of things, I could have simply used an R796, which is the preparedness chip I was talking about earlier. But that has many limiting factors, such as no frequency control and no power control. The solution was to use a transmit capable SDR, such as the HAC RF1 or the line SDR. It's the HAC RF1 and both of these have GA radio support, so it's extremely easy to make a LoRa transmitter with them. Okay, as for the demonstration of this, I use an RTL SDR for the visualization of the signal, cell phone law master receiver positioning. I am transmitting on 915.215 MHz, which is the United States ISM band, with about 250 milliwatts of RF power, and I'm about 7 kilometers from the receiving gateway. I'll show you a video for that now. So you can see on the left is the LoRa signal. The video is skipped since it will be very long. That's a preamble. Shortly after it's done, it'll take a couple of seconds to decode and pipe the data to the APRS network. and then releasing my calls home. The decoding delay is about 20 seconds to decode and get into APRSs. And you can read on a map like APRS Direct or APRS Dialify. Here's the details. You can see it from the LoRa to DARA both. And it worked out perfectly, which was surprising. I was not expecting it to work out that well the first time. In the future, I plan to implement location recording with data collected from the GPS module to do this automatically in the background. You don't require any manual intervention, but I did not have time to implement that for this. None of this would have been possible without following people and their work. I would say that WHYD is now my silent key for the initial idea. Vladimir Quest, who wrote Shilta Code LoRa, which means everything you want to know about LoRa. Xavier Lafosana, who wrote a paper about the limits of LoRa warning. And Arun Kumar writing a paper on the introduction of LoRa technology. That's actually a long website, but if anyone has any questions, you can just find me later and ask them. Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the 2019 Youth Forum presenters. Let's have a big round of applause. And I'm going to ask them all to come up so Charles can take his photos, as can you. Just line up over there, and Charles will take the picture that's going to be in the magazines and wherever else. Okay, bananas. I move over there. I let right over here, stay with everybody, and this is the picture of the just there you go.
By the way, they all dressed beautifully. Very well. We'll do 1, 2, 3 cheese. 1, 2, 3 cheese. There we go.
Okay, I'm going to ask them to stay here. Is Hamlet back there? We got somebody shuttling back and forth to stay. Okay. We are not going to now. Wait till you see these wonderful surprises we have for all of these young people. I am going to first give out the RCA prizes to them before you get to the audience prizes. And when I call your name, you just go up front. Charles is going to present you with the beautiful RCA Young Achiever Certificate. Why don't you hold that up so they can see what that looks like? And Carol Hollingsworth, our president of RCA, will present you each with a stipend check. That's the beautiful certificate that each of them will get. As I told my parents, this looks mighty good on a college application form to say that they have achieved this. Okay, Connor Black, Isaac Schober, just go right on there, and Charles and Carol will give those RCA. And then you can wait up there. Galen, Siva, Miriam, and Jose. Okay, do we have somebody here from ICOM? They will come and go and taking their pictures. Would you like to do it? Okay. Come help giving out the wonderful ICOM jackets, backpacks. They're right over there. Yeah, I don't see them, but
Yes, I have something here. Carol, could you please come up here for a second and read?
After Carol distributes the cash, Carol, could you please give this to our great New Zealand visitor on behalf of RCA? It's $100 for their kitty to go travel. Okay, so that's to me, to RCA and RCA for your budget. That's one of those other touching moments that I've had here. We had people in tears when she was talking about everything of what they're doing, trying to go from New Zealand, and I'd be there. There's lots of sheep and great wine, and that's it. So, thanks.
thank you, as usual, Candy for Ham Radio, and certainly supporting young people. Fantastic, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask each of you then to just turn around while we've got helping hands over there who can help distribute the jackets and backpacks that are stuffed with goodies and included from AMSAT for each one of you. They will look like horses when they've been selling and well reserved. Now we've got Richard. Richard, raise your hand. My dear friend Richard from MFJ. Make sure you stop by and say thank you to Mr. June and to Richard. Also, a good 3 decades worth of support. 32 years, that's right. Even before you four began, 32 years worth of support from Martin Jew and from Richard and MFJ. So be sure to stop by that booth, and they are distributing what they donated for the young speakers as well. We should have you all get involved. Now, this is good information, which is why I'm allowing these. Before we get to the DARA prizes, which I promise you we will do, allow me to introduce Tamitha Stove. She's the space weather lady, and she helps the Mars generation understand the effects of space weather on our daily lives. And you've got to hear her speak, even though she's good enough to curtail it in the interest of time here. Wherever she's speaking, make it a point to go and hear her. She's fabulous. So we're going to have the youngsters sit down after Charles gets their picture. And I'm going to introduce her, but I love hearing from her. Here is Tamitha. Tamitha.
Young ones are up here. You guys are definitely the future of the neighborhood. And I'm in more trouble than me. So, really, the title of the talk, what space weather means to the Mars generation. You know, I'm probably the only one that's going to be giving kind of a right turn compared to all the other talks at Hamvention. Because really my debate is out in space, right? And what a lot of people don't realize is that space weather, at least the ham radio operators, you guys realize that space weather is something that you have to deal with on a daily basis, right? Because you know, I call you guys on the front lines, and me now as well, because I am now in ham. Yes, Whiskey X-Ray 6 SWW for space weather warning. So hopefully very soon I'll be on the bands, and then we can have even longer talks than I can be afforded today. But at any rate, all of you guys know that you're on the front lines of space weather. But the thing is, space weather isn't just at Earth; it's at other planets too. And so just to remind you what space weather really is, it's essentially a planet's interaction with its host star and the surrounding space environment. And it occurs at all sorts of planets and moons and asteroids and comets. We have a couple examples here. You can see the Saturnian aurora. You see Saturn's rings. You can see the aurora in the southern hemisphere. The other two pictures there are showing Jovian aurora. And Jupiter's really cool because Jupiter has moons that have their own magnetic shields. So some of those footprints, some of the little dots you see in there, those are actually from the moons. The moons Io, Ganymede, and Lissa. So it has 3 moons. Imagine if our moon had aurora. Would that be cool? You could look up at the sky and say, oh, there's a solar storm going on because the moon is all lit up. But keeping that in mind and understanding that you are so intimately aware of what space weather is, and then realizing that we have to go to other planets here soon, you know, it means that all sorts of phenomena that we deal with on a daily basis are also going to affect these other planets too. And there's a whole new generation of hams, here they are, who've never known life without Elon Musk. Right? Elon's taking us to Mars. Whether we're ready or not, he's going to take us to Mars. And there are far too many people who are super excited to get there anytime soon. But the problem is, there are also far too many people who've never known life without a cell phone. Right? And they take them everywhere they go. But they also think they can take them to Mars. And that's the one thing that amateur radio operators know better than anyone. There's no cell phone infrastructure that handles cell phones on Mars. So what are we going to do then, right? Looking at things from that point of view, it means all amateur radio operators here on this planet, you are Earth colonists. You're the Earth generation, right? So who's going to be elders for the Mars generation? All of you. So we have 4 basic types of space weather that affect Earth, and these also affect Mars. You have solar flares, which you can see one right there. That is the source of your radio broadcast. That is basically the sun screaming, okay? And it screams for hours at times, it completely knocks out all amateur radio. This is a solar storm. You can see that big loop up there, and it extends out into space. This is when you get a bunch of material being lifted off the sun and ejected out. It's like a big burp. The sun is just bleh. This thing moves a lot more slowly than a solar flare. It doesn't reach us quite as quickly. It takes days. But when it does reach us, it causes aurora. It causes the entire night side of the Earth to be almost impossible to understand when it comes to amateur radio propagation. You get wonderful DX, and then you get nothing. And then you get noise, and then you get nothing. And then you reach the southern hemisphere, and then you get nothing. And it just goes on and on and on all the way through the night side. Unless you do auroral propagation, and then you can get that too. But all of that drives solar radiation storms, both solar flares and solar storms. They drive radiation storms, which can knock out amateur radio. And those coronal holes, those big black holes on the sun, they drive fast wind that can also cause things like solar storms at Earth. But all of those things are also affecting Mars. Now, how does it affect us? Well, there's an ionosphere that's a charged plasma layer above the atmosphere. It's mainly comprised of ions and electrons. Now, it would be neutral, just the normal atmosphere that we breathe every day, except for the fact that the sun's light, the UV light, charges it. And this charged nature, it definitely facilitates radio propagation, but when we have things like solar storms, we get aurora, like what you see up there, and those are currents. Those are basically currents running through the upper atmosphere. So solar phenomena can affect the ionosphere in dramatic ways, and that is caused by a solar storm. So the thing that's going on right now, I know we're close to solar minimum, but believe it or not, there are really big solar storms, and during small cycles like what we're in right now, those solar storms can be pretty monstrous and pretty devastating. So we call those ones super solar storms. And what can a super solar storm event do? Well, back in 1989, we had a really big one. During the space age, we had a lot of technology that's kind of close to what we have now. And you see weather satellites lost images for hours. We had a Tigris-1 ComSat, it's a military set. It had over 250 anomalies, meaning it couldn't communicate for, send out messages at least 250 times. The space shuttle, its fuel sensor failed. Radio Free Europe, because so now we're talking about radio, it failed. They thought it was a Soviet jam event. Remember, this was back in 1989 when we worried about the Soviets. The Hydro-Quebec power grid shut down, and the James Bay network was off for 9 hours, leaving 6 million people stranded without power, and they didn't even know why. And the Toronto Stock Exchange closed. We had it roared down to Texas and Florida. Actually, it's been proven that it's actually been lower than that. We had it down in Cuba. And amateur radio during this entire period was completely unusable. And if you think that this kind of storm doesn't happen very often, you're wrong. Back in 2017, anyone remember Irma and Harvey? Anybody remember that nightmare? Well, while terrestrial weather people were staring down at the hurricanes, us space weather people were staring up at the sun, because at that time, there were some really bad actors on the sun. We had 2 largest flares of the entire solar cycle happen during that period. We had, for an entire week, we were at radio blackout levels for an entire week. And Irma was barreling down on Puerto Rico. So all the first responders in FEMA, in Red Cross, ERAs, races, everybody was groaning because they couldn't get any messages in or out on Earth's day side. Even the Red Cross with their satellite phones, the satellite phones weren't working because the sun was screaming so loudly it was blocking out even satellite frequencies. GPS didn't work, nothing worked on Earth's day side. And it launched a Carrington-class event, which is what you're seeing here. On the left side, that's a picture of a model. You're seeing the sun in the middle and that big umbrella thing that comes out. That's a Carrington-class solar storm. These are the superstorms. This thing was so big. You see the yellow dot on the on the right side? That's Earth. Up in the top kind of left corner, kind of around 10 o'clock, that's Mars. That red, that's Mars. This event was so big, it caused a solar storm at Earth and at Mars on the other side of the sun. That's how big this thing was. This thing caused the largest radiation storm Mars has ever seen. And we know that because of Curiosity, who's the first Martian colonist. We know it because, Curiosity has its own Twitter feed, right? So it's got to be the first Martian colonist. So when we think about this from the point of view of the Mars generation, you know, we have to worry about these solar storms like this. And on March 7th, as an example, Curiosity was shut down due to an approaching solar storm, and they tweeted it out. It says, there's a storm coming, heading for Mars. I'm going back to sleep to weather it out. And so we have to worry about these things, because actually, with solar storms hitting Mars, Mars is actually more susceptible than Earth is. Astronauts and rovers need to actually go underground, and the astronauts know this, but they don't tell you that. They actually have to go underground in order to avoid all the radiation and everything else that happens at Mars. And the atmosphere, it goes opaque to radio communications. No communication in or out from satellites above or even down on the ground unless it's direct line of sight. But radiation storms, like the one I just showed you, those arrive within an hour or so of being detected at the sun. So how do we get communications over the horizon to someone to tell them to get into a bunker if we've only got about an hour? That's going to be done with ham radio. So it kind of puts a new spin on the Martian, doesn't it? Not just that, but we have dust storms. Anybody remember Opportunity? The rover's been recently defunct. Well, here is live weather. This is from May 6th from Mars Reconnaissance Observer. We're just beginning to enter dust storm season on Mars, and we can get planetary dust storms. This whole planet will turn red when there's a planetary dust storm, and you're beginning to see a little bit of it. See that? See how it's kind of looking a little murky? Because the dust season is beginning to pick up. But that's why the red planet was called red. That's why it was called the red planet. It was because of the dust storms. This is what colonists are going to have to contend with. So how are we going to keep them safe if we don't use ham radio? So really, our future relies on space, right? And we're getting more reliant every day. And the Earth generation needs to be the Elmers to the Mars generation. So please, don't let anyone ever tell you that amateur radio is a dying art. It's not the past, it's the future.
She is great. And anytime you have an opportunity, and we thank you so much for your support of youth activity. Since the first time she came here, she has always made herself be available to speak at the Instructors Forum and at the Youth Forum. So many, many thanks to you, sweetheart. No, you were great. You were great. Okay, before we get to the DARA prizes, which I promise you we will do.